Go. Welcome to the Freedom Hour with Joe Perrone. I have a special guest today, Rebecca French. Rebecca, say hello to the audience of the Freedom Hour on the Wake Up at Giants TV network.
Good morning. Morning Freedom Hours is this? How do we plural a Freedom Hour person?
Yeah,
And our giant
our Freedomites.
Our Freedomites.
And I have such an honor to have Rebecca on the show. And I just want to take a reminder, please like and subscribe to the Wake Up with Giants TV. There are so many great programs on, so many great hosts that want to add value to your life. And Freedom Hour is just one of these shows. And we so honor you for being on here with us today. So Rebecca French, after a 20-year law enforcement career, abruptly ended with a post-traumatic street injury and the vaccine mandates of 2021. Rebecca saw this as a kick off the cliff necessary to step into her power as a healer and a speaker. As a solo mom to 2 to 3 young children, it was succeed or nothing. In 2022, Atlas Soul Journey was born with the idea of taking the who you are to where you want to be. The intention to seek your internal healer, release the very real and raw emotions, beliefs, and ideas attached to your life experience and stop them living inside your body and mind. To have no more a place in your memory than that of a visit to the supermarket. Fortunately for Rebecca, she was able to stand on the shoulders of giants and string together the confidence, courage, and commitment to bring forth her unique ideas. Her greatest desire is to be able to be present to the individual and the collective, her own unique way of being and how to live your very best life. Rebecca, welcome.
Wow. That's the first time anyone's read that. It's quite powerful.
It is quite powerful, and you are very powerful. And I would love you to tell the audience, how did you get into the tribe of giants? What brought you here to this wonderful, wonderful network of people?
This wonderful network of people started with who you guys know as Alyssa Ann. We did our basic training together in the police academy 20 years ago. And it's forged in fire, that one. I don't think either of us would have got through without the other. And it just sort of went from there over the years. She was just a constant in my life. We went through marriages, and she was actually my bridesmaid in my first and only wedding. And 6 kids, I think 12 houses, interstate moves, a trip around Australia for her, and sitting with her in January on her 50th birthday call with some giants, the giants. And suddenly something that was on the peripheral for me is something that I was aware that she was involved in, and I knew that she did, is now basically my day-to-day existence. quite full on.
And now you're here with us and here on the Freedom Hour, and you're ending a 20-year career in law enforcement and stepping into this new, but I wouldn't say new because it seems like this has been something that's been inside you for a long time. Tell us about this new venture and how you're impacting the world.
Yeah. I was always in love with the things that we couldn't understand. I had a beautiful childhood with my grandparents in their little country town every holidays, hanging out in a crystal shop with a lady, and I must have driven her insane with questions and touching everything. And from then it sort of moved through, into cards and touch and healing. And I was always a hugger, which I think Alyssa and I get along really well for that reason as well. It just sort of was always there, this really intense desire to heal, to solve problems, to make the world a better place, and to really create something beautiful for us to live in. But then I joined the police force, and I thought that would be the way to go about it. It'd be to keep everyone safe and protected and shield them from, and I just didn't understand at 22 how much that would impact somebody with the personality traits that I have and the way I am. And there's no training. There's no training for your mind among the chaos. And so now that I'm 42, Atlas Soul Journey is, that's come from a couple of years of doing hypnotherapy, NLP, Reiki, little bits and pieces that I'm studying. And now this dream that it's as much about my voice as anything else that will help piece together a more beautiful future.
So grateful that you're sharing this with us right now, because there are people in our audience that have these big dreams. They have their big dream, and it's something that they may never share with the world. We're trying to reverse that. We want the dream to be shared. It needs to be out there. What you do, Rebecca, needs to be out there. And I know that you have been working with people and have had success, and they have been able to change their lives. Can you tell us more about some of the highlights, some of the people that you've been able to help recently that you've had this profound impact on?
It doesn't matter where I go. I actually these conversations just start. I'm on a first name basis with most of the staff at my local supermarket because we just have these conversations and they end up kind of all over the place, and I find out things about them. And I guess I have this little, I don't know, knack, ability, or I think it's a quirk perhaps, of where I can someone will say something really negative and I can really change that around and empower it. Phrases like, you did this to yourself, this is your fault. There is something wrong with you. And it connects back to, because you're only feeling that because you're doing something that is unexpected of you. You haven't just gone into the 9 to 5 or the grind or the hustle or whatever, and you're really trying to step out and live in complete alignment with yourself. So yeah, of course, this is your fault. You're doing this to yourself. And those moments are just so beautiful and so profound when you watch this realization cross somebody's face that there's nothing wrong with them, that their dreams are possible, and that they're certainly not out of the question. And particularly in the world that we're in at the moment, where there is so much anger and hurt and pain and suffering. And just to see somebody finally light up and go, yeah, I'm good with this. This is good. It's just so beautiful. I love watching the shift, the color shift in people's faces and their eyes, and that full body just sort of letting go of something. And yeah, the big dream is to bring that into the PTSI space, where post-traumatic stress injury just doesn't exist, where we can teach people that all of those things that we've been through can live outside of our body, and we can just open a drawer and have a look and shut it, and it doesn't take up space anymore.
I love that, and taking it to a space that's being underserved or not served at all is your calling. When do you remember having these gifts? When did you realize that this was what you really wanted to do, and had that calling in your life, that this is where I'm supposed to be?
I don't think I truly understood this is where I was supposed to be until the board of psychiatrists told me that I was never going back to policing. That was just never going to happen. And the potential was then flagged that I may never actually work to my full capacity and earn my full income and all that sort of stuff as a regular citizen, corporate, whatever, for the rest of my life. So it was kind of in that moment where I thought, oh, that's not cool. I've got all these other fun things I want to do. that don't fit the mold of a 9 to 5 and that I can control and that I can work to my best ability at and return back to the world what that realization has brought to me. But as far as these random chats and conversations and people just talking to me at random and finding out incredibly personal things in random places, I can, even as early as 15, 16, I can remember having these sorts of conversations. Ramped up into my early 20s. Policing was a little bit different. I was kind of overwhelmed with that level of work and it kind of fell to the side a little bit. But in the years that I've had off, having babies, maternity leave, and my PTSD leave, anytime I'm out of the house, one of these conversations happens.
Could you tell us about a recent conversation, something that has stood out to where this purpose has been so crystal clear and really just brought it into full focus for you?
Definitely the conversation about you did this to yourself with someone really beautiful that has only very recently come into my world. And her situation isn't fabulous, although she's hustling and she's driving and she's pushing really hard to achieve her own miracle. But she was very much sat in this place of, it's my fault. It's my fault that I'm here. And I was like, well, yeah, it is. Which was a bit rough to say to start with. And I think sometimes my directness and being Australian and having a different set of sarcasm and, intonation sort of at the point in that moment was lost a little bit, was a little bit harsh. But when you're down and out and you don't know what's next and you have no idea where you're going and what you're doing, and the reason that you're there is because the situation you were in was so misaligned with your internal purpose and your internal compass just was spinning out of control. So to take yourself out of that situation where your whole being, your physical being and your mental being is compromised for who you actually are, and to put yourself, to make the decision to not sell out and move across into something that's potentially more difficult and more unstable, but at least you're aligned with your internal compass. Yeah, you did that. That is your fault. You made a choice, and you made a really, really hard choice that 80-90% of people would never make. And I was the same. When I went back to Victoria Police in 2018 after 2 years off recovering with PTSD, I should never have gone back. And in that 2 years, I tried to do some other stuff, and I started a personal training course. I was really big into fitness, but my brain literally couldn't hold any new information at that point. So I just went back to my job, and instead of going back to my career that I was passionate about and wanted to, work towards, I just went back to my job because it was easy. And so I look at my second round with PTSI and go, yeah, I did this to myself. But if I hadn't have done this to myself, if I hadn't have pushed through into that horrible, uncomfortable space, I wouldn't be sitting here. It's March. It was apparent sort of by January that I wasn't going back to the police. And I'm having these conversations with international audiences. So yeah, I did this to myself. So when, my pension's not going to be great and I'm sitting here going, oh my God, what am I going to do? Yeah, I did this because the way I was living was so misaligned with who I am. And to be able to share that with somebody else who is doing the very, very best that she can, and I love her absolutely to the ends of the earth. I feel like that was a little bit of a shift for her, that we know what's not going to happen tomorrow, and that's we're not going back to the life we had. So regardless of what that brings, we know what's not happening. And to keep that compass on point, which is where Atlas came from. It's my idea is behind that is that I've got this entire book of the world for you. Where are we going? How do we bring it down to a step-by-step journey for you? It's a big place. The world's a very big place, and the whole thing is open to you to do whatever you want.
And as the transformation happens, and for you as you are on this journey yourself and helping others along, tell us, how does that feel internally when you're aligned, you are in misalignment, and you know that this was out of alignment, the physicalness of it just felt out of alignment for you, and you knew that you weren't where you're supposed to be. Tell us what the other side looks like. Tell us when you are in alignment and you are serving and helping others and you are doing what you're called to do. We're on the Freedom Hour. Tell us how freeing that is.
Oh, even to hear you say that, Joe, my tummy just expands. My chest expands, my body expands, going, this is real. I'm actually doing this, and it's happening. And that is to know that I never have to put on a uniform again. I never have to wear boots if I don't want to, or uncomfortable pants or heavy equipment, that I can wear dresses and colors and my hair out. And these are just some of the physical things. And then I come internally. And now, instead of having conversations with people who don't want to talk to me, I don't turn up to anyone's good day. It's not Christmas when I turn up. And the last sort of 4 or so years I've worked in family violence. So half the people I speak to don't want me there because they're afraid of the consequences. And the other half of the people don't want me there because they didn't do anything wrong. So I no longer feel like I'm banging my head against a wall with every conversation I have. The people that I'm talking to are connected to me now because they want to be here. They've seen something in me that they want to learn from or work with or speak to or just have a conversation with. I haven't had to barge my way in under the guise of the justice system to take part in these conversations. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful knowing that what I have to share and the way that I can listen and give back and feedback to people is all valued now. It's not just to speak to an audience that are listening is just beautiful. It's that front of the ship in the Titanic moment. It's jumping out of an airplane moment. It's just beautiful. It's freedom. And I don't think I've really understood what that means, particularly as an adult. That word hasn't felt any more true than it has in the last couple of months.
And as you're sharing this, I imagine that you would like to share with the audience some of the details of this big dream, because it's not simply coaching, it's speaking, it's writing. You have a lot of different ways to get out in the world, and I know that you want to take all of them. I know that you have the desire to be on a TED stage, TEDx.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about that dream. What does that look like to you?
Can I be honest? That was an accident. That dream was an accident.
Well,
it was a happy little accident, that dream.
This will be recorded in on the interwebs, so part of the dream.
I just thought I would start having conversations in this sort of space I'd connected with somebody else with her podcast, and that's in the works. And I was like, yeah, I can just do this. And of course, when you mention something to a giant, they take you literally. And I joked about this TED. Well, I didn't joke. I was like, oh, there's my TED talk. I can't remember quite what I said. And next thing in my inbox is, here's the application for how to do it. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, that seems easy enough. And so
what would the title be?
Well, this is the thing. There is just so much out here. I think the start of it is definitely from the policing to the healer aspect, and how inherently my nature and the job that I chose, I picked the wrong job. And there is another way to do it. And if we can all do it another way, and we can build more and more and more people doing it the other way, then the world is just going to be a better place. Because there's not enough empathy and kindness and love and understanding. It's grey. That I'm a very inherently multicolored person, but policing is black and white. And after 20 years, the grey section in the middle, and then all the little stripes of colour started to appear. And yeah, but there's a better way to value our people and create change right back into childhood, that it doesn't really matter what environment you grew up in, or what suburb, or what your parents were like or did or didn't do for you, that there are enough big people around who will make sure that you get the most out of your life.
And I imagine that being in the police force, you saw that on a daily basis. You saw the transformation on the wrong side. You saw what lack of empathy, lack of understanding, lack of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the end result. So as you almost, you're almost getting it before they get to the police. They get to you first.
Yeah.
You're almost giving them the roadmap not to be at this other end of the spectrum that I was on. Right?
Yeah.
It was going in and taking these people and locking them up. Right?
Yeah. And I don't have a huge burning desire to work specifically with children. I think there are other people within the community far more switched on to that side of things. And I know there are some people doing that on the daily at the moment. So that's great. But I guess I want to start in this end, the end where we're already here. So with the adults who don't have the compassion and the empathy for the people who got themselves into these situations, we can create more empathetic people towards the people who I guess traditionally we would see as bad or evil or naughty, or whatever term we want to give to them, and slowly work backwards, so that so my children see how I behave and model that behavior, and other children see how they behave and model their behavior, and that ripple effect of creating more empathy, more compassion, more love, working with the people one-on-one, the coaching, the healing, because you can't be your best self if you're still lugging around everything that's ever happened to you. It's too heavy, and it's a cloak. Your light can't shine through if you're still lugging all of this stuff around. So by healing, I guess, my generation and my people will feed down through, and then we've got our people at the other end who will feed back up, and at some point we're going to meet in the middle, and the world will just be such a more beautiful place.
Oh, I so honor that this is your vision. I feel excited because I know that you are so passionate about this, and the work that you do is brilliant. Would you like to share more about the, we're talking about the transformation, talk about that transformation of what it looks like, but getting to that point, some people wouldn't raise their hand and say, I need help with empathy. I need help with kindness. How is it showing up for them right now? What's life look like for these people right now? And how would they come to you to
Yeah.
say,
So this is
I need help, raise their hand and say, I need help?
this is the beautiful thing is when the people that need this kind of work are all around us. They're the people who don't like their jobs. They're the people who have short tempers. They're impatient. They, they're constantly go, go, go. And they know that something's not quite right. So it really comes back to these are the people who are just existing in the world. They get up, they feed their kids, they go to work, they come home, they feed their kids, they go to bed. They don't have the depth and breadth of relationships that they thought they would have by the point in their life that they're at. They're masking, they're covering up their emotions by being more and more busy. That concept of busyness. If you're too busy, you don't have time to care, and you don't have time to show that you care or show that you don't care, and then you don't pay attention to yourself because you're just too busy doing. Mm-hmm. And I've lived like that, and it's not nice. And through the years it took me to work out that why it was so wrong for me. And the biggest part of how I discovered it was so wrong was by getting the crap out, laying it all on the table, and then discovering that the true way to be happy is to love and be loved. And there is nothing more beautiful than that in the world. It's not that anyone's going to come to me and say, oh, I'm not empathetic enough. They're going to come to me and say, I'm so burnt out and I don't know what to do next. And I go, oh, really? This sounds familiar. My first breakdown was physical and mental. I couldn't pick 5 kilos up off the floor. I know what it's like to be so small in yourself and so broken and so diminished that I don't want anyone ever to experience that again. So if I can get the message out there, are you feeling these things? Are you on the hamster wheel? Are you chasing your tail? What's missing for you? If I can bring those people into my space or reach them in their space would be ultimately the idea behind TED is to reach into people's space and bring them in. The natural progression of that is empathy, kindness, compassion, love, because that's what we teach. That's what I teach you. And it starts with yourself. And then once you've got that, it just exponentially grows. And then you're the person having conversations with the girl at the supermarket. And, the girl who makes your coffee, the guy who does your car for you or what have you, it just expands once you realize it's not okay for you anymore. I get hold of you.
You have to have that turning point, right? You have to have that turning point to say, this isn't working for me. This isn't working. And I would imagine that, and you said it, these people are all around us. They're burnt out. You see the phone in their hand and they're just, looks like they're just, they're multitasking. They're toggling just between busyness 1, busyness 2, busyness 3, and just going on this cycle of busyness. What are some things that we could do as giants? What are some things that we could do every day to shine that light, to be that light, and show others that there is another way? Freedom is options. Show people that there's another option other than just being busy and burnt out. What are some things we could do, Rebecca?
It starts with connection. And it's actually taking taking the slowness that you can feel after a ritual that you do, or a meditation, or, some kind of whatever it is you do in your space that keeps you kind of chill and safe. And it's taking that emotion out into the world. And it's doing things with mindfulness, being mindful. And the supermarket's one of my favorite examples of this, because I was terrified of the supermarket for about 2.5 years. And some days I still can't go in there. So what I started doing was making it safe for me. And part of the way to make it safe for me was to make eye contact with the staff and say thank you. And excuse me, please, if they're in my way. And asking the scanner to, looking at them, actually looking at them for 1 minute and saying, hi. And you don't even need the how are you, because that hello that is connected, where you're fully focused on that person and you look at them and say hi, you can see the shift in their face. You can see people know when you're looking and talking to them, not just throwing out a couple of words while you're tossing things around. And that's where my sense of safety came from in that supermarket environment. Was I knew that there's so many staff in a supermarket that nothing could possibly go wrong in there. And the staff all knew me. And then I started talking about PTSD. Then I started talking about post-traumatic growth. And it was beautiful. And, during the pandemic, when we've got so many stock shortages and people are angry and aggressive, and suddenly they're frustrated because there's nothing on the shelf, but then they're frustrated because there's someone stacking the shelf and it's the shelf that they need, to actually take, I really noticed the workers were kind of starting to make themselves feel really small. They were kind of hiding away and squeezing between spaces. And to actually stop and say, no, you don't have to apologize. Thank you. And to take that moment to look at them, that's where it starts. Is to bring the chill, calm self that you have in your own environment and take that out into the world. When you see somebody who's down, can you catch their eye? Can you change a moment in their life for them? Is there something you can do? It's service. It's doing for no expectation of anything in return. And it's such a beautiful place to live in. And it's just so lovely. It's turning our big chain stores into small town supermarkets again. I wander through, okay, hi. And anyone I don't know by name, I certainly know by face and what department they work in. Because like, hi, thank you. And it's that simple. It just starts there.
It's that simple, but yet people don't do it. And you spotlighted how important this is to do this. Talk about the ripple effect. Talk about the ripple effect both ways. Since you're in this trade of doing it, talk about the ripple of it. What does that look like to that stock person that you're smiling to and learning their name as you're going through the store? Talk about what happens to them as the ripple effect.
Well, I believe that they get that shift as well. And that if they can make that connection with one person, then maybe they can make it with others as well. So these people see the same people day in and day out. They look down, they're doing their job, they're going to work to earn the money, to pay the bills, to do the, whatever. And to lift them out of that for a minute, I like to think that they then kind of go, oh, I'm going to try that again. I liked today. Today was better for me because I connected with somebody. And it might be superficial, it might be really deep or intense, but, next time there's a customer next to me, instead of just burying my head and doing my job, I might look up and say hi. Because when someone did that for me yesterday, that made me feel really good. So I'm going to do that to someone else today and make them feel really good. And then that person realizes it feels really good. And so they do it more. And it's a drop in a pond, and it just keeps going and going and going. And with the amount of us working towards this now and the amount of content that is around, if it's not my voice someone's going to hear, it's going to be someone else's. I'm not going to resonate with everybody, but someone else will. And if they don't resonate with me, suddenly I can lead them into this entire community of 4,500, 5,000 people on our Giants page, our Tribe of Giants. If I can just get you in the door there, you'll find someone. Someone will find you. You'll find someone. It doesn't have to be me. And I think that's the biggest part of how this is making me feel, and it's pushing me to grow, is I'm not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. I've like to think I've done enough work that that's not going to upset me too much if someone says no, thank you. But I've now got this tribe, and we've all ultimately got the same end goal. We just want an awesome place to be. So there'll be somebody. You'll match with somebody in here, surely. And then that's another pond. That's another ripple in another pond. And that one keeps going. And suddenly it's raining love, and compassion, and empathy, and kindness. And people are happy. Lots of happy ponds.
Yeah. And you talk about connection, you talk about community, you talk about building each other up, standing on shoulders of giants. We all work to help each other in this community. And I love that you pulled it back into the community, because, Nick and Ryan have a goal to reach 100 million lives. And what you're exactly talking about, these are the things that we need to be doing on a daily, hourly basis as giants in the world, is being kind, being compassionate, empathetic, understanding. I had a recent post a day or two ago about going into my local bakery, and it was just the smile on the cashier's face when my son asked for something that she could help with. But it switched that attitude, as you said, from one of, I can't believe I have to do this again today, to I get to do this today because this little guy and his dad were so happy that I was here for them today. And that little thing, you're right, it does matter. It is so important, and it does expand. And I would like to think, as you said, we'd like to think that her smile made somebody's day brighter. Her, I'm going to hold my tongue when somebody is going to be rude to me, and I'll send kindness out to them, or somebody might not even been expecting that kindness, because I truly believe that people don't expect kindness. You and I expect it. We leave the house, we expect kindness, we expect empathy, because that's who we are. That's who we are being. So to those that might wake up in the morning and say, I just want to go back to bed, I'm just not ready for this today, can you give them some hope? Can you give them some other tools, some things that will say, I'm going to get up, I'm going to change my state of being. We talk about being a lot in this group, and in the Ultimate Coach group, being. And I know that confuses a lot of people. They're not sure about, well, who am I being? I'm not sure how to be that person that they desire to be. Can you help us with some further tools that have worked for you to change that state of being to one that's will get us out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, and I can, because I am that person. And there are still days where I don't want to get up. I just go, sleep and I are not best friends right now. And I'm practicing, I'm actually retraining my body how to sleep again for about the 100th time. And I don't want to. But if I don't, and I guess it's a little bit of that, whichever way the reinforcement works. If I don't get up, I've got right off the bat 3 small humans who, while they're all very independent and they can get themselves sorted and organized and what have you, they're alone in doing that, and they're children. So if I don't get up and be who I need to be in the morning, which is a little bit mean because I've got to rustle them out of bed, a little bit fun because I've got to rustle them out of bed, and a lot of loving because I've made them get out of bed, my days, what's the purpose? If I can't be present for those kids right off the bat first thing in the morning, then what am I doing? How that, I chose to have them. They're in my world because I brought them here. The very least I can do is show up for them in the morning. And then it just kind of goes from there. And yeah, there's days I don't want to. There are absolutely days I don't want to. And you know what? There are days I don't. Some days, sometimes. And because, they're not small. They can all feed themselves and make a meal and what have you. But some Sundays, I am not present for them until about 10 o'clock in the morning. And they're aware of that. But I'm also not closed off. They can come in. They're welcome to come in. There's no keep out sign on the door or anything like that. But this concept of being is, if you have to force it and it's really, really hard and you don't like it and you hate it, then you're not doing it right. The state of being is naturally within you. It can be buried under trauma and experience and angry people at work and toxic workplaces, and can be buried. But the inherent state of being is within you. So anytime you feel that resistance about what you're doing and that suffering or pain about what's next in the day, something's not in alignment for you. And you need to come back and find what that is. And I think that's where Atlas is a big part of that, is where open the book. Where do you want to, how, where do you want to go? And then how do we need to get there? And that's the miracle I want to return to people, is their inherent way of being. Because by being, I am love, I am kindness, I am empathy, I am compassion. And when I am being those things, getting out of bed still sucks, but I do it because I then get to be all the things that I am.
I love that you just said that. I get to be all those things that I am. And I want to pause there because that's such a brilliant point. I get to be all those things that I am. And we lose sight of that. We lose sight of that through the burnout. We lose sight of that through the busy and the world and the injustices that go on and the pandemics and all the things, all the things that cloud who we were created to be, our purpose, why we're here. And why we're here is love, and to be love, and to love, and to show love, and to, expand that. Yeah. So, this Atlas Soul journey that you're working on is so deeply needed now. It's so important. And, I imagine that you'll be on a TED stage very soon because this is needed now.
Yeah.
So who are you being right now to have
brave?
experiences. Brave, yes.
Brave. Oh my God, so brave. Bold, a little bit brash, maybe. And being available to all of these things. I would never, if someone had said to me 3 months ago, oh, guess what you were doing on a Tuesday morning in the dark? Oh, no way. There is just no way that this side was coming out as fast as it is without, kind of the people that I'm now surrounded by. I was, not that hands-on and one-on-one healing is small, but I was like, yeah, that's enough. I'll just have my client base and my regulars, and I'll, get some new clients here and there, and we'll do this and we'll do that. And while they're in my space, obviously I get to talk to them, particularly with that NLP and the coaching side of things. But yeah, why impact one at a time when I can do 10,000, 20,000? And this stadium vision that I've had has come and gone for years, and I could just never quite work out what it was. And yeah, it's almost these veils and these layers of my own shit are starting to vanish, and that real true sense of why this has happened, and the synchronicities that have brought me to this day that could be a book on its own. When we look at the way dates have lined up, times, connections, people, things, it's just mind-blowing. And by being open and available to whatever and being present, I think, to it all, is where that real up level has that momentum. And oh my God, some days I just feel like a snowball. I'm just tumbling down this mountain and collecting all this stuff on the way and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's beautiful. And all I'm doing is being me. I'm no longer the round peg in the square hole. I'm no longer jamming myself into a uniform where I've got to do things a certain way with a certain process to a certain result, to a certain end, and then forget about that one and move on to the next one. I get to just go. I get to be flow. I get to be water. I get to be ice melting. I get to be fire burning. I get to be whatever it is that I want to be. And I get to be the person that the person in front of me needs me to be. Do they need a stern lecture? Do they need a hug? Do they need to be told they're beautiful? Do they need to be told it is their fault that their life sucks right now because it sucked even harder before? What? I get to be all of these things, and it's beautiful.
So, Rebecca, your ideal client is listening to this right now. They're seeing our interview. You have 30 seconds to tell them what you need to tell them, because they need to hear it and will only come from you. Go ahead.
Oh my God, I have no, wow. I am living proof that you can be completely wrapped up in the identity of who you thought you were and have almost an overnight transformation and realization that despite having jammed yourself into one place for the most part of your life, you don't have to stay there. And that there are people, tools, skills, lessons, and ways to bring you out of that stuckness. And I have all of those. And I have access to a million more of them if what I have can't get you to where you want to be. But the world is available to you. Everything you've ever hoped and dreamed for is available. Let's get you there.
And how could your ideal clients reach you, Rebecca?
I have Atlas Soul Journey on Facebook, is probably at the moment the most direct way. I do have a .com.au, which is my name, but that's a work in progress. I'm not very technically minded. I'm struggling a little. So yeah, I do have a .com.au. You can reach me there, and Atlas Soul Journey on Facebook. Otherwise, jump in Tribe of Giants, tag me, and I'll respond.
Atlas Soul Journey on Facebook. Tag Rebecca French. Rebecca, this has been a fun Freedom Hour, hasn't it?
I'm just so grateful to be here right now. A lot of what I've said has never really been spoken out loud before. It's and certainly not in public. It's been to one or two people at a time. So absolutely honoured that that you made the time for me to come and do this.
Oh, I am beyond honored to have you on here, because this is so important. This is so needed right now. And you're doing it. You're a living example of the work, doing the work, being the work. I get to do this work. I get to be this person. And as you're doing this, the ripples are just spreading, and the opportunities just come in. You're accepting the opportunities, and you're just raising your hand and saying, that's me. You're clear, and you deliver your purpose and your passion so well. And I just am honored to have you on here to share, because this was such a valuable hour for me and the listeners. So I hope that you could leave the audience with a few takeaways today. What are just a few of the takeaways of your time on the Freedom Hour this week?
Define what freedom is for you, and spend every minute working out how you can achieve that. There's so many ways that you can reignite the who you are, which are going to get you to the where you want to be. So many ways.
So true. Rebecca, thank you. Remember to subscribe to the Wake Up with Giants Network, the Tribe of Giants. We are a empowering, kind, compassionate, uplifting tribe, and I've been welcomed in. Rebecca, you've been welcomed in. And we just are so grateful for the tribe and what they do for the world and who they be in the world. So with that, we'll see you next week on the Freedom Hour. Thank you again, Rebecca.
Thanks. See you later.